Good morning, Rabbi Sai. Good. It's going to be edited. It's going to be edited. It's going to be edited. Poor Yosef. Poor Yosef. Poor Yosef. All right. Today's daf is the Lrefua Shlaima of Basya Sara, our good friend. Oh, Surragate Bubby. Achsenoi Mashgicha, whatever that means. Okay, they understand. And Surragate Bubby. Miss Barbra Price of Kemp, Maryland. By OFishel Caterers. Okay. Official in his English. This could be a real word in English. And I don't know. Eli nishmas uMori Moshe Aharon ben Yehuda on his 11th Yahrzeit Tammuz by his children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren. The neshama should have an aliyah, and the Tehillim should have a Lrefua. This is what's going on in Artscroll right now. We're messing them up a little bit. This went out yesterday. 120 Gemaras went out. We're already at 250, and we didn't even start. So, which Masechta? Bubby Basra. Which Masechta? Masechta Sukkah, Yaakov. Thanks for asking. Yeah, thank you. By Avigdor Fold. The Karnei Shomron branch of MDY will be getting together this Motzi Shabbos to watch the shir together. The meetup will take place at the home of Avigdor Fold. You never know how many will show up. Rechov Nachal 55 Karnei Shomron. Please don't let him hang over there all by himself. It'll be weird. Just me, Avigdor Fold, and myself. Here, selfie. Go hang out with him. Prove Nachman wrong. Bring 20 people there. If you are from Ranana, I didn't know Ranana. Okay, I have no idea what's. They're half an hour apart. Okay, if you're from Ranana, he's desperate here. He's going a half hour away. Or all the surrounding areas, please feel free to join. Please RSVP. He's expecting a lot of people here. You better RSVP, Rabbi Sai. Tavigdor at 054. I don't know if we should say this. 2-3-3-6-6-9 by Thursday night. So you now know how many people have, or you don't get the RSVP. Please feel free to stop by anyway. We'll be happy to have Motzi Shabbos, MDY get together in Karnei Shomron. There's a meet and greet at 9 o'clock. Shir starts at 9:30. Okay. Tonight, Hillel Kalmiansky from RBS is meeting the Olam and the Young Israel in Monsey on 58 Parker Boulevard. And the Manchester Chevra are getting together on Clove Park, 4 p.m. Friday afternoon. What's Clove Park? That's a Mokim Yedua? Oh, they have COVID over there? Yeah. They're going to the park. Rabbi side, the Manchester Chevra are going to the park. Clove Park. If you see a bunch of guys learning the daf, that's your Chevra. By Steve Lauderdale, Rabbi side. Dear Reb Eli and the Gashmius fellow dafers, I started to see the rite of passage several times. The original thing, which I still maintain, is Reb Eli is only partly right, that it's about the Yomi, can also be about the daf. To explain, I love statistics. I'm 64 plus. I am 77 daf into my journey. Okay. Today's shir is sponsored by Naim Shamash for people to find their basherret. And another sponsor by Shaya Rosenerg, Zgula for search in Surfside Miami. All right. Shem Shadab Rachmanis. I am 64 plus 77 daf into my journey, and that is not Panovich math. I started learning with Psachim. My inspiration was Pesach as a major reason I increased my observance. My family always celebrated in a very kosher way, with my grandma painting her kitchen yearly and my papa saying his Galicia accented Kiddush. Galciana. He didn't write that, but okay. I hadn't been learning regularly in a while and decided to try Daf Yomi again in my grandparents' honor. The Yomi Rebelli Shir kept me coming back when the daf sometimes faltered. They got me through 64 daf and was about to celebrate a 2-month victory lap. That originally was never finished. Unfortunately, my dad, Papa Lauderdale, suddenly passed on the 13th of Shvat. The chesed was awesome. Many people I didn't know reached out. I apologize I never returned the message. Tried coming back a few times during Psachim Mishkalim, but my head just wasn't in it. I needed a boost and found it in the daf again. Bit of tshuva with Masechtas Yoma. So the fun, quirky stories, sometimes even lumdish serious shir keeps me coming back yomi. But the daf content helped a few times. It's not just about the yomi, it's about the daf, he's saying. Praying that we can all find a way to hop back on the train if and when we fall off. And use the daf and the chevra here if you need to. Looking forward to my first Gemara Siyum Be'ezras Hashem. Thanks, Steve Lauderdale. Wow! It's going to be his first Siyum at the age of 64 plus. And by Stan Fireman. Once again, the daf shows how it brings people together. Last week, you showed a picture of the Miami group and read the names. One of them was Sheldon Gittleson, who was a friend of mine when we lived in Miami many years ago. We had not been in touch for probably 20 years. Right after the shir, I contacted him to reconnect. It so happened that he and his wife were going to be in Muncie visiting the children. Gradually, we just happened to live not far from us. Sheldon and his wife came to visit, and thus the daf brought two friends together again. Once again, the power of Torah learning knows no bounds. Stan Fireman. Unbelievable. And that's whatever. We'll schmooze afterwards. Dear Rebelli, thanks for driving in the 5 towns. Oh, thanks. Was driving in the 5 towns one day last week when I came upon this classic automobile with MDY and 8-minute daf magnets on the back. When I pulled up here, this is somebody asked, what's a classic automobile? Here we go. Look at the magnets in the back. It's right over here and over here. That's, I don't know, it looks almost like a Cadillac. I mean, I don't know. The driver seemed to appreciate it. When I pulled up alongside the vehicle, I gave the driver a thumbs up and shouted enthusiastically, "How about MDY? Good afternoon." The driver seemed to appreciate it and responded back. However, being an older vehicle, the driver was unable to reach over and roll down the window. So I was unable to hear him. Nevertheless, it was an exciting connection to be a part of. Wishing you all the best. Yoni, it's not about the daf, it's about the Yoni Nagler, Staten Island, New York. All right, here we go, Rabbi Isai. Be'ezer Hashem, if we get to Amud Beis quickly, I have a phenomenal Vart, I want to say. I was waiting for Leon Welcher, but he's letting me down. I am officially going, if he doesn't come tomorrow, Be'ezer Hashem, I am going I'm going to erase him from my phone, Belina. There? You hear that, Leon? You don't come tomorrow, it's a warning. Yeah? Yeah. He said the same thing. You don't come tomorrow. I'm not playing around. Out of my phone. So, guy's here for 3 weeks, doesn't show up to Beis Medrash. And I'm waiting for this Vart. I'm going to say today. Zok the Gemara. HaMelech v'Hakalot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 lines from the bottom of Daf Ayin Ches Amud Beis. HaMelech v'Hakalo yirchetzu es penei. And one man Omar in the Mishnah says that a king on Yom Kippur and a kalo on Yom Kippur could wash their face. So we have 3 halachas in the Mishnah. Masnisim mani. Who's the Mishnah going according to? And we don't pass him like this. So we need to know who this is. Rabbi Chanina ben Tradian. Rabbi Chananya ben Tradian. Thank you. Rabbi Chananya ben Tradian. Desanya. HaMelech v'Hakalo lo yirchetzu es penein. That's what we pass in, that the king and the kala should not wash their face on Yom Kippur. Rabbi Chananya ben Tradian oimer mishum Rabbi Eliezer. HaMelech v'Hakalo yirchetzu es peneim. They can. Hachaya. A woman who just gave birth. So we have 3 halachas here. King and a kala, like a queen, and a woman who gave birth, if she could wear shoes on Yom Kippur. Rabbi Chananya, the name of Rabbi Eliezer is Mekel, and we don't pass him like him. My taima, Melech mishum dechsiv, Melech biyafyoi, a king in his beauty, Techezeno inecha. You should be able to see him in all his glory. So he gets the right to wash his face. Kala my taima. Kidei shaloi tizgan al bala. So we have many times in Shas this idea, this concept. She's a new kala, and they're still in the getting to know each other stage. And it takes about 30 days. They just went on all these dates, and she had all this makeup on and everything, and all. So the next day, like, whoa! So we allow a shtickle a little relaxed. You know, you wash the face a shtickle. Okay. Omale. Yaakov just caught on to the joke. Rabbi Sai, where's that kid? He's not here today. No, he's coming tomorrow. Amalei Rav, I need that kid. Amalei Rav, there's nobody else that laughs at my jokes. Amalei Rav, kalat kama. How many days is she considered a kala? Amalei kidisanya. A very, very sad story happened there, where the chassan's father died, or the kala's mother died, right before the chuppah. The steaks are on the grill, the wine is poured, and all of a sudden, she dies. And it happens, unfortunately. Usually it's the father of the kala, especially if he has to give a full dira or something. Happens, man. It's not. So the halacha is, Rashi, you can look in Rashi. Machnisim is ha-meis l'cheder, they put the mace to the side. The chassan and kala go to the chuppah, there's a beilas mitzvah, and then they do the kvura. Very, very sad situation. Ein moinim tachshitim min ha-kala, so this kala, kol shlei shuyim, she's in avela, she's mamish in avelos, in the 30 days of avelos, she could wear her jewelry. Rabbi Travis, the one with the wine, the one who wrote the book, Sefer on the Yayin.
Father-in-law passed away right before the chasana.
Yeah.
They asked Rosh Hashanah if they should tell the kala.
Yeah.
He passed
1 minute. The day of the chasana?
The day before.
The day before, yeah. Yeah.
They asked Rosh Hashanah if they should tell the kala. He passed not to tell her. She did not know. She didn't understand why the father wasn't calling her the day of the chasana. That was Rosh Hashanah's psak.
And the mother wasn't at the chuppah, obviously, because she was sick. She was sick.
So she could have come in. And she only
I don't know if everybody heard that. I hope people heard it on YouTube. But Kitzer, Rabbi Travis is who?
Travis is his wife's father.
His wife's father. Oh, it happened to Rabbi Travis himself. Rabbi Travis himself. There was once a shir in my house by Rabbi Travis. He wrote a sefer on wine, on the bracha of Atoy v'Ametiv. When do you make it? There's like 7 different steps. And he spoke by the siyum. Yeah. So Rabbi Travis, his own father-in-law was nifter a day before the chassan. They didn't tell his wife. They didn't tell the kala. Rav Shem Zalman Paskin did. Okay. Amazing, crazy. I mean, amazing. Very sad stuff. I told you the story. I was involved with this Rabbi Schlesinger from Ramah Bet, that whole story with the Yerushalmi family. So his wife was nifter a week before the chasana. Very, very sad. Okay. So, but over there they knew there's a whole, okay. Hachaya tinol es a sandal. Mishum tzina. Again, we know that a woman who gives birth, depends the stage. So we're concerned that she's going to get a cold. It's not good for her. She's very weak. Anybody could wear a shoe if they're walking in a place that has scorpions and it's dangerous. Ramat Bet Shemesh has scorpions. My house has scorpions. After I brought the scorpion, I got a scorpion to show to the shir, and then I brought it back home, and we were left with the jar without a scorpion in. So he's still in my house. That's from 3 years ago. So the Mishnah says that the shear in Kippur is the size of a nice fat date. Top of ayin tes. Now, all the Rishonim talk about it, including Tosfos, because the Mishnah says ukigari nasa. It's with, seems like with the pit, but Rashi says no. Maybe it means that it's the actual fruit or the pit, meaning that they're 50-50. The pit would be the size of the fruit. I mean, the best I could come up with, I mean, I'm sure there's other shriveled dates or whatever, but here's a date that the pit is very large. Let's call this 50-50. So maybe that's what the Mishnah meant. Either the size of the pit, if you want to measure it by the pit, or you measure it by the fruit. By Rav Ashi. So that's the Shaila. What does the Mishnah mean? What's the shear? By Rav Ashi, etzem kisoira. So when the Torah says, I have here, I brought some fruit with me. When the Torah says that tumah of a bone is the size of a barley, it's unbelievable how small it is. A fragment of a fragment. Unfortunately, like in Miami now, they're finding mamish fragments of human remains. This, if somebody is searching in Miami and Chas v'Shalom, he comes across this small thing, he's tamei. If he moves it, he's tamei. Etzem kisaira, like a piece of barley. So asks Rav Ashi, bikli pasa or beloi kli pasa? Are we talking about a kernel. What is this called? A kernel? A grain. Okay, I like grain. Grain is better. The grain with the peel, with the klipa, the shell, or without. Bilacha, is it moist or be OFishel like this guy? Gasa itmar. Gasa means the largest one. It's a large date. So in other words, called kama the gasa. With everything. Why are you telling me gasa? Because it includes the pit. Now, it doesn't really include the pit. We have to understand la halacha. The pit is not edible. So when it says with the pit, it means the size of the fruit with the pit. Pretend that the pit is a date. So, on Yom Kippur, if you eat a date and you take the pit out, you're not over the Oraisa. And if you eat it with the pit, what if you eat it with the pit? L'chayra, you're not, Pashas, the Mishnah Berurah says, you're not chayiv because it's not edible. But I saw that Rav Zilberstein asked, what if you take the pit and you grind it up? So he says also, it's like grinding sand. You're not really, huh? It's not food, but it could, maybe it is. Maybe it gives you nourishment. Maybe that was the shayla. Okay. Fine. But when it says gasa means the size with the, whatever that is, the volume of a date with a pit in other food. In other words, real food, not the pit. By the way, Stam, Kisevis Agasa, if you, again, here in Artscroll they have a lot of it. I'm sure in America, in certain places, you can get it, like the nice moist. This is not even a good picture. They have really moist dates that have to be refrigerated. It's a whole different, they're larger, they're juicier. Majul, but the real majul. You could also have a majul that's similar to this, a little bit of a shrivel. No, you're talking about like it's smooth on the outside. It's oozing wet. Yeah, it's literally wet. It's a little bit too sweet, that one. Lacha. So, Rav Papa, Rav Ashi. Rav Papa, who asked, is the Kiseves Agasa, the date in our Mishnah, is it referring to with the pit, without the pit? He didn't ask the question on barley. Why? Lacha, if you're telling me that's moist, shiboilas mikri. That's not called barley, that's called something else. It actually has a name in the dictionary called shiboilas. And if it doesn't have the shell, ushlo mikri. Again, it's another word. So when you're talking about sa'ira, sa'ira means dry, without the shell. Omar Rava, Omar Rav Yehuda. So we're going to have two shitas. We actually don't paskin like Rav Yehuda, but he's of the opinion that Koseves Hagasa, this date, is larger than an egg, larger than a hair. The date is larger than an egg. It's so larger than an egg. I've never seen one. But I guess they had dates that are huge. So we're talking about Yom Kippur. And Yom Kippur is all about inui, to inflict yourself with pain, to have. So if you don't soothe yourself, you don't calm yourself down with the food, you're not over. The isser is to not be in pain. So anything less than Koseves Agasa, less than a date, you're not over, because Rabbanan said that soothes the person down, a Koseves Agasa. Now, it doesn't, we're going to see soon. There's a shear of filling yourself up. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about calming yourself down. When you have that hunger and you're going crazy, and it calms you down. How much? A date. Okay. This is Koseves Agasa Shamru Yisayim Kibetz. Kim lo Rabban debachim yad v'daite. Batzim achi lo miyad v'daite. Meisvei. Meisa beviel Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai litam misatafshel. It's unbelievable, and we had it a lot of times. As we're going into another Masechta, and I believe it's designed like that on purpose, the Gemara starts talking about the next Masechta. To give you a little bit of a taste, now we're talking about Masechta Sukkah. When we were learning Psachim, we started talking about Yoma, Yom Kippur, all the way at the end of the Masechta. That's how it goes a lot of times. So we're talking about Sukkah. And as a joke, this week's Parsha talks about Sukkahs. You know what else it talks about? Yom Kippur. And Pesach. And Rosh Chodesh. Parsha bin. Okay, fine. It's not that. It's not like one of the. The Gross said that if the parsha, if you see in the Gemara that week's parsha, it's mamish like Akash Baruch Hu. It's Siyatish. This week, I think anywhere in Shas is going to be in this week's parsha. Okay, fine. So what did they do again? They said, here's some food. What did they give him? 2 dates. And it says over here that the 2 dates are not considered a suda. They gave him 2 dates, udli shel mayim, and a pail of water. And they said, let's eat it in the sukkah. You don't have to eat it in the sukkah. So what does it say here? That 2 dates are not considered a suda. I don't have to eat it in the sukkah if I don't want to. You only have to eat a suda in the sukkah. But 2 dates are not a suda. So you see where the Gemara is going with this. We hold that Kusevas Agas is a suda. If it's a suda, it should require a sukkah. And he's saying, no, even 2 dates, 2, not 1. 2 dates are considered. Give me your hand a second. I can't. It's on the floor. I'm not going to wear it. I'm putting it over here next to me. Okay. Shkoyach. So, Rum Leibowitz, his son is here. What's your name? What's your first name? Zevi. I have a lot of Akarsa type to him because he's the one that came up with the idea of a Siyum on Zoom. One Hasidic Ingeman in Borough Park said, hey, why don't you do Siyum on Shabbos on Zoom? And we had 550 locations or something that I don't know if will ever be repeated again. It will be. Bezer Hashem. 550 locations out of this world. Okay. And if you ever wonder, how come you hear Nachman Seltzer say, good morning, Avrami? That's Avrami Leibovitz's father. It was a minhag that we had in the old shul. Baruch Hashem, he doesn't do it anymore. But whatever, once in a while, we'll allow it. Now, we're going to see here 3 halachas in Reb Tzadok. When they gave the food to Reb Tzadok, he ate pachos mikabetza. In other words, netali b'mapa. He did not wash his hands on pachos mikabetza. So we have a shayla in halacha. How much do you need to eat in order to wash your hands? And he says, it's not a kazayis like we paskin. Rather, it's a kabetza. And since there was less than a kabetza of food, he didn't wash his hands. Netali b'mapa. He used a handkerchief. Now, we're familiar with handkerchief. You know, when you go on a trip and you don't have water, it's too hard for you, whatever, you eat a sandwich with the handkerchief. That's not what happened here. Rashi says the reason why he used the handkerchief is because he didn't want to touch the bread with dirty hands. Just a cleanliness thing. Not a halacha thing. But we see halacha number 1, that according to Reb Tzadok, you need at least a kibetza in order to wash your hands. Halacha number 2 is that he ate it outside of the sukkah. And he didn't make a birkas hamazon. So, halacha l'maisa, in order to be chayiv and a bracha rishayna, how much do you need to eat? Think about it. A mashu, because you cannot enjoy, you can't benefit from this world without a bracha. But netilas yadayim lahalacha, you need to eat a kazayis. Birkas hamazon. How much do you need to eat to make birkas hamazon? So midrabanan we say kazayis, but midiraisa v'chalta v'savata it has to be k'dei svia. Now we're just turning to Daf Ayin Tes Amud Beis, sponsored Lili nishmas Uri Ben Mattisyahu, and for the success in Gashmius and especially ruchnius of his grandchildren. Ha-kebeitza b'yisuka. Now we said that 2 dates do not require a sukkah. Hakabetza by sukkah. But if it was the size of an egg, you wouldn't be required. But if you're telling me, according to you, Rava, in the name of Rabbi Yehuda, that a kiseves agasa date is larger than the kibetza, okay, they fed him, they gave him dates without the garina, without the pits. That's not a kibetza. Kiseves agasa garinasa. So at the end of the day, a kiseves hagasa, let's say, you're telling me that a kiseves hagasa is more than an egg. So if 2 dates without the pits are not a kibetza, and that's why they didn't eat it inside the sukkah. So why? How is it possible that a date with the pit is more than a beitza? You just told me that 2 dates are less. It's impossible that two dates are less than 1 date with a pit. Yeah. Fine. Whatever the situation is, there are some dates like that you have these giant pits, and they're actually larger than the date. So if you have 2 fruit-only dates without their pits, 2 equals less than 1 with the pit, because the pit is larger than the fruit. Two kabim, the measurement of dates, is equal to just the fruit. Let's say 2 pounds of dates is equal to 1 pound of pits. But actually the pits are a little bit more than 1 pound. So in other words, the pit is larger than the fruit in that situation. A mango, avocado, yeah, they have avocado dates. Yum. Rav Omar, nothing to do with the shear. You could eat as much fruit as you want. You can eat 20 dates. Let's say 20 dates is more than a kibbutz. It doesn't require sukkah because it's fruit. It's a dessert. It's not a meal. Meisvei, it's a snack. Meisvei, Omar Rebbe, what are figs? Fruit. Va'anovim, and grapes, again fruit. It says the only reason why we ate outside of the sukkah is because it was a temporary kind of eating. It was a snack. It wasn't a real suda. Achilas aray in, achilas kevaloi. It seems like if this was a real achila, it was a satiating meal, a full meal out of fruit. You know, these people that are on these diets, that's all they eat the whole day. What are they? Kaveh suda. So you would be chayiv in a sukkah. Says the Gemara 2 pshat. It wasn't that it was an achilas aray. It was like, no matter how much I eat of fruit, it's always going to be achilas aray. Unlike, by the way, when it comes to, let's say, cake. I don't know if people know this. If you eat cake, and you eat it you get full from cake, you're chayiv in birkas hamazon, right? You probably have to wash. It's achilas keva, even on cake. The reason why cake is part because it's not achilas keva. So over here is saying that if you would eat fruit to the point that you're full, it's a real suda, then you'd be chayiv. Then you'd be chayiv in a sukkah. No, that's not what it says aray. Because there is no aray when it comes to fruit. Fruit is always aray. So here the shayla. If fruit, let's say, assuming that fruit, you can never make a birkas, it's not a sukkah. You'll never be chayiv on fruit. So then why does it say that he ate it aray? If fruit is something that no matter, you eat 20 pounds of fruit, you're not chayiv in the sukkah. So it should say, they brought me fruit, end the story. And fruit is part of the sukkah. But it doesn't say that. It says they brought me fruit and it was aray. Obviously the word aray is talking about something else, not on the fruit. Because fruit is always potter. So what is it talking about? The word aray is talking about the rest of the meal. The rest of the bread of the meal, that was aray, but the fruit, no matter what, is considered aray. I wasn't even talking about the fruit. Now, on Sukkos, there's a shita that says that you have to eat 14 sudas, 2 a day. So what happens if you ate a suda? It wasn't a real suda with bread and everything else. It was b'mini targima. What's mini targima? So according to Rashi, it depends. Big machlokes rishonim here, and it really depends la halacha. It's very important la halacha what it means. But according to Rashi, it seems like it means fish and meat, things that you put on your bread. You melafet the bread. So what do you melafet the bread? You make a sandwich with meat. So if you eat the meat without the bread, there's no bread. Are you yaitza suda or not? Says the Gemara, yeah, you're yaitza suda. Now there are other Rishonim that learn that it's more like noodles, something that's made out of the chameshes haminim, from the grains. It can't just be meat. Meat is shakal. Talking about grains. Okay. Big nafkamina la halacha. Because if mina targima means basar, so that's what you yotze suda with, that requires a sukkah. Now, if you eat a piece of meat on sukkahs, mamish halacha l'maisa, I give you a steak, just a steak. Does it require sukkah or not? Well, based on this Gemara, if targima means meat, like Rashi says, it requires a sukkah. Because you yaitza a whole suda with meat. But if targima means noodles, so only noodles requires a sukkah, meat would not require a sukkah. Big shayla. And I think the Shulchan Aruch paskins, like the other Rishonim, like the Rush, that it means noodles. So Mela, according to the Shulchan Aruch, if meat doesn't require sukkah, okay. Listen, peiros. Why doesn't it says if you're eating minit targima in it? Halacha l'maisa. Fam halacha l'maisa. I'm telling you. You have to eat 14 sudas. Every day you have to eat 2 sudas in a sukkah. You know what you could eat in the sukkah? You could eat meat and fish. Shouldn't I say and also apples and grapes? I don't say that. So if I'm not saying that, obviously peiros are not a suda and they don't require a sukkah. Says the Gemara, no, you read it wrong. My minit targima, peiros. When typically targima means something that you put on top of the bread. Over here, targima means fruit. Talking about a city, a place that there's no fruit. And that's why it said over there, you know what you could do in order to make a suda? You could eat meat and fish. Okay? Rav Zvid Omar comes Rav Zvid and says, I'm a chuluk. And this, in fact, is the halacha. The what? That Koseves Hagas on Yom Kippur, the date on Yom Kippur, is less than a kibetza. How much less? So they want to say that, and this is neged to us, people don't fast on Yom Kippur. People that are sick. Women that gave birth. So what do? They eat less than the shear. What is less than the shear? Well, since we're passing like Rav Zvid says that a Koseves Hagasa, a date, is less than an egg. So it's literally less than an egg. They say it's a mashu less than an egg. Okay, because one Mandorma says it's larger than an egg. So the svar is, it doesn't make sense to say that the same fruit, one is saying it's 25% larger than an egg, and the other Mandorma says no, it's 25% smaller than an egg. They're probably arguing a mashu this way, mashu. Okay, so it's a little less than an egg. So how much is that in our days? 30 cc's. You have to drink. So if you're drinking, you want to make sure you're not over their rices, unless whatever, you can't. So what they do is they give them little shot glasses that are less than 30 cc's, and that midai raisa, you're not chayev. Cubic centimeter, cc. This nan bishama yoimrim soor bikazayis chometz bikoseves. So going back to Masechtas Psachim, and because I'm mentioning Psachim, I might as well say the Vart on this week's parasha, Mamish Hashgacha Pratis, this week's parasha. I saw an amazing Vart brought down by Rabbi Ginsburg in Mishpacha magazine 2 weeks ago. I thought it was short and very, very powerful. It made an impression. It says that the Kopitcher Rebbe, he went to bake matzahs in a matzah bakery. Let's call it a month before Pesach. He's baking matzahs in the bakery, and when he was done baking the matzahs, he went around and he gave guys tips. He gave a guy a tip. Fine. A month later, Erev Pesach, we learned in Masechtas Psachim, it's a big mitzvah, and some say it's mamash chiyuv to eat matzah that's baked Erev Pesach. Mamash Erev Pesach matzah. So he goes back to the same bakery and he bakes his matzah. When he's done, he finds that younger man that helped him out, and he gives him a tip. So the younger man tells him, Rebbe, you're already yaitza with the tip. So this is what he said, printed it so you could see it. Ich bin nicht gekommen in der Welt, Yoitze zu sein. I didn't come to this world to be Yoitze. You hear the word, it's so powerful. You could be Yoitze. There's many ways you could be Yoitze. You could daven to be Yoitze. Yoitze. Daven mincha. Okay, fine. That's Yoitze. And then there's doing the mitzvah, b'shleimos, and he goes on to give examples. And I was thinking to myself when he was giving the examples, a guy sitting in the hospital, Stephen Sokol in the hospital, and they're telling him, in about an hour from now, it's probably the end of your life. We're putting you on a ventilator. He's 40-something years old, and that's it. He chaps. He saw in the news what happens when a 40-year-old goes on a ventilator. So what does he do? He opens up his Gemara and starts learning. Learning not to be yoitze, learning to learn. Chesed. Chesed. When my father-in-law, sometimes, not all the time, guests, he gets out of his bedroom, goes down to the basement, and gives his bedroom to a guest. There's achnosis archim and there's achnosis archim. Give me yaitza. Depends who the guest is. The Uri Ben Mattisyahu. The Uri Ben Mattisyahu. Out of his bedroom.
Boundaries, man.
No, there's no boundaries when it comes to chesed. Avram Avinu. Oh, I tell you a story. You know what my shver did? He took a sheep, he shechted it and gave him the tongue. Oh, that's weird. No, it's.
Yeah, we'll talk about it.
Okay, shkach. Listen, shkach for ruining my classic. A lot of editing. It's weird. He's a weird guy, my shver. He also sold his chaviv. He didn't make a lot of money on it. Weirdo. Anyway, fine. What do you bash my shver for every day? It's like bashing. It's not weird. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful story. I'll tell you another word, sir. A bunch of guys flew from Artscroll to Chicago for my daughter's wedding. Some of them are on the table here now. And after the wedding, they went to Brooklyn. And they told me they stayed by Kashai. That was, you remember his first name? Pesach Kashai. So how they say. And while they were there for a bunch of days. Koenig was there. And this gentleman, Pesach Kashai, he made them breakfast, lunch, and supper with his own hands. He refused that they go to a restaurant. He made every single meal. There's yoitza and not yoitza. No? There's hachnos archim to a different level. There's chesed to a different. Okay, I'll tell you a nice story about my shver. My shver, he's a pretty big veer, and he made countless weddings with his own hands. In other words, we have the hall. It's a hall. That's where I was a caterer for many years, and he would go on a Sunday and make the food, cook the food, and then wear an apron and serve the food to the guests, because he held chesed. You could pay for something by chesed, but chesed be yodayim. No, he brought his whole family, all the children, all the son-in-laws were forced to come, and we had every Sunday in Chicago. He'd call it a chesed wedding, but it wasn't called chesed. It was on a higher level than a regular wedding. They made a shmorg and a this, and my son was the bartender, and that was the beginning of all the issues. And then the kids are, that's, okay. You could live life to be yoitza, like Pliny Almighty, who takes out a can of tuna and tells his family on Shabbos, here's a piece of tuna for you, your yoitza dogim, and here's dogim for you. Or you make, like my wife, 3 types of fish every Shabbos. It's yoitza, not yoitza. All right, anyways, weiter. Oh, we have 4 minutes left. Baruch Hashem. I just thought it's an amazing thing. What's the Lashon again? We have to do the Lashon again. Ich bin nicht gekommen auf der Welt, yoitze sein. I didn't come to this world to be yoitze. I didn't come to this world to be yoitze. It's unbelievable. It might be the line of the month or maybe the year for me. The line of the year. All right, weiter. So now, Rav Zvid, what's Sa'or? Rabbi I brought it. This is my wife's favorite thing. This is a starter for sourdough. This starter is the most potent chametz in the world. This creates chametz. This is the source of all chametz. You put this in some flour, it becomes chametz. So Memela says Beis Shammai, chametz, this stuff is the size of a kazayis. But chametz, if you eat pizza, bikuseves. That's more. You have to eat more. Now, sorry. When it comes to achila, eating, let me just erase that. Achila doesn't matter. Achila is always b'kazayis. The machlokes is how much of this is in your refrigerator. If, according to Mishamai, this much bal yira is a kazayis, and pizza is b'kukiseves if it's in your closet, in your freezer. But eating is, everybody agrees it's kazayis. Where did he get this distinction between two shiurim within chametz? So he says, Nichtav Rachmana chametz v'lei bayis sa'ir. Why does the Torah say two things, chametz and sa'ir? V'ana amina uma chametz she'en chimutzoi kasha asa b'kazayis sa'ir she'chimutzoi kasha like holchkein. If pizza is b'kazayis, so certainly the source of all tumah, of all chametz is b'kazayis. So that in fact that the Torah gives us two lashonos, sa'ir and chametz, obviously the two different shiurim. So you know from here that there are different shiurim. How much? Sa'ir b'kazayis. This guy is kazayis, the chametz, bread, and everything else b'kikuseves. So here comes the question. Here's the chart. Show it to you very, very pashut. This is sa'ir. Don't look at the bottom. This is sa'ir, it's kazayis. And pizza is kuseves. Now, if there's another shear in between called a kibetza, so why did he skip a shear? If Beishamai, all Beishamai wants to do is make a distinction and say the Torah is talking about two shiurim, so the two closest shiurim, kibetza and a kazayis. Why are you jumping? A pizza has to be at least the kiseves agasa. Obviously, kiseves agasa, says the Gemara, is less than a kibetza. Listen to kibetza. If all Beishamai is trying to do is say there's two shiurim, so it should go in order, kazayis and then a kibetza. And even if you're going to tell me, like this chart down below, look, they're basically the same shear, then why are you saying a funny word, kiseves agasa? It's a weird, you hardly hear it in Shas. You hear it when it comes to Yom Kippur. But all over Shas, we always talk about a kibetza. In all the Mishnayos, Shisha Sidri Mishnah, kibetza, all shiurim are kibetza. So why are you using a different language, says the Gemara? It's obvious that this is the wrong order. It doesn't go kazayis, kibetza, koiseves. It goes kazayis, koiseves, and then a betza. So obviously, the koiseves is less than a kibetza, like Rav Zvid said. Mimai, dimaloy lamei melach, koiseves hagasa, shamru yiseru mikabetza. Perhaps when it comes to Yom Kippur, and we use the lashon gasa. Gasa means fat and juicy. So Mela, only in Kippur, actually, this is what's happening. We're talking about the majul, the ones that were refrigerated, they're juicy. Those are actually bigger than a kibetza. Hastama, but what Beishamai was talking about, it doesn't say. He never mentioned. He says koiseves. He never said koiseves hagasa. The word gasa wasn't mentioned in Beishamai. So Beishamai are actually saying that a regular size, there's different types of dates, and the ones that they're talking about are the smaller variety that are smaller than a kibetza. No, maybe they're the same exact shear. And he grabbed, okay, so you're not happy with the way he said it, but he just picked one lashon. He could have said kibetza, he could have said a kiseves, and he said kiseves. Okay, fine. I have a different raya. What is the shear to do zimun, to bring three people, say Baruch Shechal Mishaloi, ad kazayis. You need a kazayis. Divrei Meir. Rabbi Yehuda ad kibetza. You need an egg's worth. Rabbi Meir savar v'ochalta zu achila v'savata zu shsia. So if you take the word v'savata, you take it out of the equation, and it's just coming to tell us a type of food, a drink, now you're stuck. You don't know how much. But Rabbi Yehuda, v'achila v'kazayis, great. Rabbi Yehuda savar v'achalta v'savata. No, I'm not going to use the word v'savata to tell me drink. I'm going to use the word v'savata to tell me how much. Oh, achila shesh b'svia. Then you have to be full. Fine. In order to be full, you need a full egg. Now here comes the right. And if you're going to tell me, you say like Rav Yehuda said on Amud Aleph, that a date is larger than an egg, right? There's two things going on here. There's being full. What fills up a person? How much do you need to eat in order to feel full? An egg. There's another shear called calming down. Yituve daita. That comes way before being full. Hashta b'kebetza sabubin saba daita lemiyatva. If you're full from it, then of course you're calm from it. Elav shmamino koiseves hagasas shamru pachs b'kebetza. The koiseves kebetza mazba koiseves miyatva daite. The date calms you down. That's the smaller shear, and that actually calms you down. Put something in, you stop going crazy. And then the larger shear of a kibetza fills you up. Well, I'm just thinking now out loud, if we just said before that a kibetza is a tiny drop less than a kibetza, it's hard. But we said already, we learned that shiurim, this is what Chacham said, fine. Come full. Have a great day. I forgot to say. So well, this one was a little shvach. This is a shvach one. You came in a shvach one. He always speaks. He's always. Yeah. What? You don't hear him speak when he really? Everything. No, it's an amazing line. You like the line, Jonathan? No, for real.
You should have said that that's what we learned in the basement.
I forgot about that. For guessing. What?
Maybe it's not the eggs, the egg. We have small eggs, there's a shar large eggs, there's medium eggs.
Oh, so that's a whole shiloh what you're saying. Very good. It's a whole shiloh today. There's a whole shiloh in the Achronim, the Chazanish. Are the eggs smaller today than they used to be? They actually just found some eggs, I think. It's the whole thing. Shalom Aleichem.
We're also saying that there are different
Chas v'shalom. Oh, you had to get up earlier today. I didn't know it was you. I didn't look. It's okay. You mean on a daily? Where do you live? People keep it like down there. You know, we don't have. We're actually building a locker over there. But you know, it's going to be months until that happens. Sure, put it in. No problem. Welcome. No, I'm from New York, but my wife's from Chicago. So I lived in Chicago for too many years to count. Everywhere. I lived in Rockaway. I lived in. By the way, Jonathan, to see my name is like spooky. I saw it on the top. I was like, what? I can never get used to it. Rockaway, Borough Park, Flatbush. You know my father's cousins. They're like all fancy related. Dagim Tuna. He's a Stefansky. Who? Kanish. So how long do you live here? You've been living here for a while?
No, I just made over here like 4 or 5 weeks ago.
No way. We have here. Where's that guy? This gentleman just made Aliyah, and then there's another person that was sitting there. Here, that guy also last week. There's 3. Rabbi said it's unbelievable. 3 people in this room just made Aliyah within the last few weeks.
I went to cash some money. The guy said, you have to come to Artscroll.
Oh, really? Yoni Meisels?
Then I have a brother living in Nepal, and Yeshua comes from the grocery store. You have to go.